You are now listening to the official Lucha Voz podcast, where you can get all the latest interviews and everything going on with Lucha Voz. Do not forget to check out our website, luchavoz.com, for all upcoming shows and other news. Hello everyone, this is your boy DJ Voz from Lucha Voz, and welcome to Lucha Life, another episode of Lucha Life. Thank you for everyone that's tuning in. We have a very special guest for you today. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you share, like, and keep sharing this post, everybody that is looking at us. So we have a very special guest today. Without further ado, the legendary Navajo Warrior, Steve Islas, Navajo Warrior. How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm wonderful, DJ Voz. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Doing good, my man.
Awesome.
Actually, getting pretty good, enjoying this beautiful weather, and it's about showtime. We're about to start having shows. It's about to start hitting hard. The show season from here all the way till December. And man, I've seen you be really, really busy lately.
Oh yeah, busy with wrestling, busy with strongman. I'm just always busy with the family. So busy's good. It's when you stop being busy that you start to worry.
We want to get to know a little bit more of Steve Islas, aka Navajo Warrior. So many things to update us, brother. I'm gonna have you here back a couple of times because the story is just amazing, bro.
Oh man, I've been at this a long time. So yeah, there are a lot of stories, a lot of years, a lot of stories. But I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about: wrestling, strongman, family, whatever, the WWE video games. I'm part of all of that. So let's do it.
I saw that. What a big accomplishment, brother. Let me ask you one question. I got one question for the man, the myth, the legend, Navajo Warrior.
All right.
If you were to pick a city in Mexico, once you're done with wrestling, once you're done with everything, when you say, you know what, I'm going to go and retire, where would it be?
I would say Cozumel. We were there on a cruise, and we stopped there, and I fell in love. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. It was just the beaches were, so nice. And then my wife, she would say, I wish I could remember the name of the city. It's in the Baja Peninsula.
Cabo?
But yeah, Cabo. I believe it was Cabo. And so, so we butt heads a little bit on it, but either one of those places are beautiful.
Well, you know what they say, brother. Happy wife, happy life. Especially once you decide, imagine being able to expand your money, to be able to live more comfortably, to be able to have a house in Mexico and live here, go back and forth. And, just that hard work that you put in all your life, especially you as a wrestler, brother, you as a wrestler. Now, what's the best wrestling city that you move up to in Mexico?
Oh, well, Mexico City was my favorite to wrestle in. I mean, as old and as dirty as that building was, it had a lot of history. Everyone built it up to be this like Madison Square Garden, right? And then I go there and I'm like, oh yeah, but it was cool because it was packed. There were sold out arenas and just Arena Mexico, and it was beautiful. I was like, I felt like I made it in Lucha Libre,
Absolutely, brother. And guess what? We're going to go through a quick announcement from our sponsor, which is actually Signature International. When you are able to find financing here in the U.S. that you can buy your house in Mexico, Signature International, it's the website, it's a place, it's a service. Navajo Warrior, let us know a little bit about what's going on with you and Strongman.
Ooh, strongman. Well, I started competing in strongman. Once the wrestling, I pretty much did all I really could do, especially in my advanced age. As I started getting older, my body just couldn't take that beating on the mat as much anymore. So now I'll wrestle, but a very few matches a year. And so strongman started to come up. It all really started with COVID. When COVID came, the gyms started closing down. And I'm sure you had that problem, where you wanted to go work out. You show up to the gym and it's like, oh no, we're closed because of COVID. And then you go to another gym, and that's what I did. Go to another gym, and they're still open, and then they close down a week later, and then you don't have a place to train. Well, a friend of mine that I was working out with said, "Hey, I got a buddy. He's got a gym at his house. He said we can come train with him." And that's where I met Marshall Zinn, Big Boss Hog. He's a strongman competitor, and he had all that equipment at his place. And I started asking questions. I'm like, "What is that? What is that?" You know, all the different equipment that I would see. And he'd say, "Oh yeah, that's all for strongman." And then he invited me to do what they call a truck pull. One day he's like, "Oh yeah, we're pulling the truck on Saturday. You come do it. Come try it out." And so I did. I hooked that harness up, started pulling a truck behind me, and then that kind of like lit that fire under me. He's like, "I think I want to try doing this." So
a truck pull. Navajo Warrior. He's also strongman competitor, and I do have a video. I do have a video somewhere of you doing the pull truck. But brother, this pull truck in this video that I've been watching is not just a truck. I think this is like a U-Haul.
yeah, I believe that one's a U-Haul. We've pulled U-Hauls. We pulled buses, tow trucks, anything. The bigger they are, the better it is.
The big, and how much does it weigh? Like, for example, like what's the weight on a U-Haul?
Oh, I wish I could tell you off the top of my head, but I know it's a couple tons. So it's the hardest part is getting it started. Once you get that thing moving and you keep moving, you're going to be able to pull that truck. But it's they weigh a lot. They weigh a few thousand pounds.
A few thousand pounds.
Yeah.
Talking about pulling your weight, brother. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, you've actually competed, right? You've actually done official competitions. You've done national competitions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've competed. Actually, right now, I'm the two-time America's Strongest Master. And what master means is the competitors that are over 40 years of age. So they create their own master's division. And 2 years in a row, I've won that. So I'm America's Strongest Master currently. So I'm hoping to repeat that for a third time this year. And then I've also competed in the world's competition for USS Strongman. And I took second in that. I've competed in the Arnold Schwarzenegger has his own competition as well. And I competed in that twice. And so it's been a lot of really good competitions. I've got one coming up in June 7th through 9th. I'll be in Finland competing for the Strongman Champions League. Yes, same one. Navajo Warrior. I wrestled as Navajo Warrior, wrestled as just Navajo, wrestled as Sean Dakota. All these different names, Steve Gray Eyes, all in WWF, WWE also.
You have helped us and you have participated with us in the Guadalupe car show, in the Guadalupe events. You mentioned you have some history with Guadalupe.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I want to say probably around 11, 12 years old, my family used to go to that church in Guadalupe. So I grew up in Gilbert, and then my grandparents kind of got sick of that church just because they weren't offering enough Spanish-speaking services, and they both really like to go to the Spanish-speaking services. So we started going to Guadalupe, and then my mom had a friend there that I believe she's still in Guadalupe. Her name's Ramona, and her daughters did the folklorico dancing. So we would go to the church, and then we would go to all the festivals that would happen during Easter and everything. So it was like a yearly tradition. And I still take my family during Easter time. We'll go down and we'll watch the ceremonies and just have a good time. And it's like tradition for us,
Absolutely, brother. And one of the things that I gotta say about Guadalupe is the first time that I stepped foot in Guadalupe, I was driving by. It was because of the Guadalupe car show, and I believe this was 2013. It was like somewhere like 2012. I'm driving by, and as I come in down Priest and I'm entering Guadalupe, I swear to God that I felt like I was entering Little Mexico.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that's a big part of why my grandparents liked it so much, because we grew up in Gilbert, but it was a little part of Gilbert called Sonora Town. And so it was almost like a little Mexico too. Like the white people wouldn't come in our neighborhood, because they were afraid. But it was literally the safest block, around, and so it kind of reminded them of home, So we'd go to Guadalupe.
Big question for you. Did you ever imagine that you would have all this experience through your wrestling career? Now, everything that wrestling has offered in your life, the positive, the negatives, what has been your experience now through your whole career?
Well, when I wanted to become a wrestler, when I was just a kid, when I saw it and I said, I want to do that. I never, like I said earlier about growing up in a small town, in Arizona, I never thought I would get to see outside of Arizona and maybe California, like go to Disneyland or something like that. But through wrestling, I've gotten to see the world. I've wrestled in every one of the United States, all 50 states, Alaska, Hawaii, everywhere in between I've wrestled. I've gotten to wrestle overseas. I've wrestled in Mexico, wrestled in Canada, wrestled in Korea, wrestled in Japan, Saudi Arabia, went to Saudi Arabia to wrestle. So it's like I got to see the world because of a dream, something that I chased in wrestling. And when I started wrestling, my trainers and the guys that I would wrestle with, like the legends and the older guys that I would learn from, always told me, take care of the business and the business will take care of you. And I can honestly say that it's blessed me. I met my wife, I got my family, all from wrestling, and I'm still involved with it and teaching that next generation, that next group that's going to come up and be the big stars, and so that all started in 2000 when I started training wrestlers, and a lot of them, getting to see them succeed has really been a blessing to me, because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm teaching them the right way. And now some of the guys that I train their own students now, and so it just passes down and down and down, which is great. I love it.
Who are some of the wrestlers that have stood out the most in the wrestling industry that you have trained, brother?
So that I've trained, there was Mike Knox, who wrestled as the Outlaw Mike Knox, went into WWE. There's Big Mike Knox. Right now, he's currently in the NWA. And I think they just lost the tag team championships or just won the tag team championships. He stands out. Gabriel Gallo, another one who I trained, that now has his students that he trains, and so he had a lot of success. Hollywood Yates, who went on to become one of the American Gladiators when they brought the American Gladiators back. The list goes on. And then like Jay Garland, who now runs his own promotion, Sonoran Championship Wrestling. So he's teaching his students the things that I taught him. It goes down the list. It's been great. And some guys that came through when I first started running IZW was always a place for students and people that wanted to get better, get to wrestle every other week. We would do shows every other Tuesday night. And some of the guys that came through there were John Cena, Brian Danielson, so Daniel Bryan, The Miz came through and wrestled through there. All these guys, when they were on their way up, came through. We had the legends like the $1 Million Man, who's actually going to be there this Saturday too, at our show on Saturday. We've had the Honky Tonk Man. We've had Greg the Hammer Valentine. Like the guys that I grew up watching and learning from came through to help teach the young guys, and just like they taught me. And it just, like I said, step by step, everyone just gets better and better. And then they pass that knowledge on to the next group of kids that are coming up.
Absolutely. What a beautiful experience, right? What a beautiful experience.
Oh, yeah.
But as beautiful as wrestling can be, it can actually be very taxing. Obviously, not everybody in wrestling, they dream of being a superstar. They see these guys, and now with the influence of social media and anybody being able to connect with the fans, a lot of times without what you would call earning their stripes, right? A lot of times in social media, people have the image of a wrestler, a great image, but they're nowhere near prepared physically, mentally to actually handle the business. They haven't been through the proper training. I get to see this a lot, brother. And this is a multiple part statement and question, right?
Okay.
And the first part to this question is, how taxing has been wrestling in your personal life?
Oh, very, very, because of the time I had to spend away from home. You know, it was back then, it wasn't about wrestling in your hometown and staying in your home state. I wrestled everywhere because I was in demand and I made a name for myself. And I was not happy with just being, and honestly, there weren't really shows running in Arizona, when I was starting out. There was maybe one promotion that would run every few months, but I wasn't going to get better by just staying in one place. But the travel was very taxing because being away from home, it makes that hard, makes it hard on a relationship, and then trying to raise a family and start a family and being away from your kids, especially in their early years when they're growing up, you miss out on a lot. And so thankfully now I'm able to make up for a lot of lost time, with my older daughters, and just try to fix the things that I can that were not messed up by wrestling, but I let the wrestling kind of mess things up a little, so I'll never blame it on wrestling itself because it's a choice. We make those choices. A lot of people talk about sacrifices, but we choose to make those sacrifices. We choose to be away from our families, to chase that dream or to make that living so that you can provide for them. We choose everything that we do. It's not like we have to. No one makes us. No one twists our arm and says, "Oh no, you're going to go wrestle in this town tonight." That we can always say no. So everything that we bring, everything that's taxing on us in wrestling, we bring on ourselves, and it's just how we deal with it and how we learn from it when we get older, and as we go along.
Absolutely. That is such a big and strong statement. And recognizing that, right? Like sharing that everybody thinks is a life of glamour, right? However, there is a lot of sacrifice. There is a lot of sacrifice in the family and the entertainment in the professional world. It's such a high price to pay. If you could go back in time, right? And 1998.
Okay. That's a good year.
1998. There's a reason. In 1998, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, if I could tell myself in 1998, don't rush the process. It's gonna be okay. Because in 1998, that was a busy, really, really busy time for me, and I was taking every booking that I could take to try to.
I've done my research.
Yeah, and so and really pushing hard, and that was a really busy time, but then that was also a time where things start falling apart at home because you're not home and you're on the road. Don't rush it; it's gonna come, especially if you're working hard and you're doing what you can. I was fighting through injury. Like if I'd get hurt, I would just tape it up and I don't know. I gotta make this show. I've got to, and not worry about how I'm gonna feel 3-4 years down the road with that same injury that won't go away because I keep wrestling on it. So that's what I mean. But don't rush it. It's gonna happen. Especially if you believe and you work hard. That's the biggest thing. Is you got to work hard for it. You can't just expect things to happen.
What would you say, Steve? What would you say was the biggest challenge to overcome at a personal level what was your biggest setback at a personal level? Talking about you, about getting disciplined, when you actually went pro and staying motivated and trying to stay successful, because you've been successful, you've been very successful, and doing that and maintaining. What was your biggest personal challenge?
Sticking to my word was my biggest personal challenge, because as a man, and this is not just in wrestling, this is in life, as a person, as a man, you're only as good as your word. And I didn't want to overextend myself and make promises that I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep. And so that was a big challenge for me, because I was making promises at home that I knew I wasn't going to keep, because I was too busy chasing a career, and if I would have been honest about what I was doing at home, then I think things would have been different, and in a more positive way. Not that things were negative, that overall everything has been good, but there were those moments where it was like, man, this is gonna ruin relationships. This is gonna ruin, family ties and friendships and things like that, because you're so focused on one thing rather than seeing the bigger picture and letting the focus spread into other parts of your life. Yeah.
This is the first Lucha Life episode we do back in about 2 years. I wanted to bring Steve, because Steve is somebody that I admire a lot. He's an inspiration to a lot of us. How old are you now, Steve?
Oh my goodness, why do you ask that? No, I am
27
52.
years young.
Yeah, 27. No, 52. Add some more to that. I'm 52. 52 years
52,
old. So,
brother.
Started in the wrestling business back when I was a young 19 years old. So you can tell I've been doing this a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
What is it? Over 30 years.
Over 30 years
of wrestling career. And first and foremost, if anybody is lucky enough to look like Navajo Warrior at 52 years old, my brother, that's my inspiration right there. I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'm going to go get my workout, because, brother, I want to be like that. I want to be competing in strongman when I'm 52, my man. And 52 is a young age. It all depends how you're taking it. Now, let's talk about wrestling years, right? 52 in wrestling years, brother. How did you manage to be so complete at 52 after wrestling for 30 years?
It was by talking to the other strongman competitors. It was a different kind of wear and tear on my body. With wrestling, it's your back, your knees, everything that you're getting slammed and suplexed, and you're running those ropes and hitting those hard cable ropes, and it's just a different kind of wear and tear, because in strongman, luckily, like, the parts that I need for strongman don't hurt, so it's been good. A lot of the core muscles, like your main core, your body, your stomach, your back, your legs, everything that's still working really well is what I need right now in strongman, which has actually helped me with my wrestling still, because strengthening everything to compete also helps strengthen everything for the ring, so I'm still able to get in there and put on matches like I used to. I can still drop kick, I can still get off the ground and move like I did when I was in my 20s. So I've been lucky.
This is what a Navajo Warrior is able to do now. Check this out. That somebody is asking me, is like, where is that strongman video of the truck? So here it is. People are asking us for it, and here it is. Here is that video. That is Navajo Warrior preparing. I believe this was just a practice, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we were just doing some workouts with that, and we went down to where someone was holding a competition. That's why they had the big truck. They had the big U-Haul. And I just cinched up and started pulling.
So did you guys hear that? This was just a practice. This wasn't even a competition. This was just the practice round.
Yeah.
How many people wish they could do something like this? You know, how many people wish? And ladies and gentlemen, you know who the man is, Steve Islas, Navajo Warrior. Brother, now I gotta tell you, we gotta talk about what's happening today, right?
All right.
What are your thoughts in the way that wrestling is being handled, the pros and the cons right now in 2024 with our technology, with social media, with trainings, with new talent? What are your thoughts on the industry right now?
Ooh, I've seen a lot of change. You know, you got to remember when I started, there wasn't the internet. We didn't even have the internet. That's how long it's been. So, and when you really think about it, it's all still new. You know, social media and all that. If you look at the long term of everything, it's fairly new. So I think people are still trying to figure it out. You know, on what to share, how much to share. You know, from my day, we were always trying to not expose too much of what we do as far as like in the ring, or now you got videos of guys training or learning how to do their moves and you know, things like that. And a lot of guys, a lot of people don't know where to make that line of, I'll use myself as an example, between the Navajo Warrior and Steve Islas. You know what I mean? When they're on their social media, because they'll try to cut a promo, you know, and be their character, their wrestling persona, but on their personal page.
Yeah.
You know, like let's say there's a wrestler and he's a bad guy wrestler. He's a guy that, you know, just gets under people's skin. But on his page, for his you know, and he lets wrestling fans join it or whatever, he's being the wrestler and not being the person. And sometimes people, when they read it or they see it, they can't differentiate. You know, they think that the person is this bad person that's saying all these bad things, you know. And so to me, it's one of those things where if you're going to be a wrestler and you're going to be a persona, then you need to keep only that in your social media that you're putting out there, and not you know, cross those lines of personal and professional. You know, your personal life and your professional life. Another thing is, you know, I see a lot of it to where two guys will go in there and they'll have a match that's just, you know, they beat the hell out of each other, and it's you got the people believing that, man, these two really hate each other. And then as soon as their match is over, they get on Twitter, oh, hey, thank you to my opponent, blah, 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 for the match tonight. You know what I mean? It's like you want the people to believe that you guys don't get along, but yet you're going to go on your social media and thank them for the match that you just had. You know, I couldn't imagine when I was a fan seeing, you know, Terry Funk thank, you know, Tito Santana for the match that he had. You know, it was I hate you, you know, and you know, next time I'm gonna rip your ears off. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, so with social media, like I said, it's new. It's still fairly new and people are still trying to figure it out. You know, I think it's great for promoting yourself, promoting what you have coming up. If you have an event coming up, promote it. Let people know. You know, if nobody knows that you have a match coming up, then how do you expect people to come see you wrestle? You know,
absolutely. A lot of it has to do with the ethics, right? Like a lot of trainers, are physically training their talent, but they're not ethically training their talent. Something that I'm experiencing myself as Lucha Voz, as a producer, as a promoter, because it's not just throwing random wrestlers in the ring and expecting a show to work and expecting it to be an experience. A lot of people put up wrestling shows However, people are forgetting to make it an experience, right? So we're seeing all along, and it takes team. It takes a team. Something that I've experienced and something that I posted on social media that you were one of the ones that responded and gave me your valuable feedback is, I cannot believe a lot of times many local wrestlers, and we're not talking about the people that are already at a professional level, like Hammerstone, like yourself, like other talent that we're very blessed to have here in Arizona. We're talking about upcoming wrestlers canceling their appearance on the show for opportunities that they got in order to travel to other cities or participate in another city, right? When in the same token, we have people from other cities flooding our inbox in order to get booked in our shows. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about, as a person, you're only as good as your word, you know? And me, when I was wrestling, I was very proud of the fact that I only missed one show outside of injury. You know, like if I was injured, of course I can't wrestle, I'm injured. But I only had to cancel one time. And that was when my mother passed away, because it was like, well, you know, I need to be home for my family. You know, I can't, I got to miss that wrestling show. You know, if I tell a promoter that I'm going to be there, then I'm going to be there. You know, if I'm booked and then another promoter calls me and says, hey, I've got that same date, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's more money. It doesn't matter if I made a commitment to do this show that I'm going to do. And so I will be there. You know, I understand, you know, and I really can't say that the young wrestlers today are doing it for a better payday, because you know how to, when you're starting, a lot of these guys are wrestling for free, and they shouldn't be doing that. You know, they'll miss out on a decent pay locally. Like say they agree to wrestle for you for X amount of dollars, but then somebody in another city calls them, oh, but you'll get to wrestle here in LA or wherever. And they'll be like, yeah, I'll do that. They cancel on you. They go there and they do it for free, or they even do it for, you know, little to no money, but they get to say, I wrestled in LA. And to me, that's garbage, because you have to handle yourself as a professional, you know, and as a good human, you know, you be a person of your word. If you say you're going to do something, you do something, you know, unless it's an injury or an emergency, a family emergency. But if it's just to go wrestle somewhere else, it's not worth it, you know. And then as a promoter, because I've been on the promoter side, you know, as a promoter, then that just tells me, okay, I'm not going to bring them back. They're not coming back to wrestle for me, because what if they cancel on me again? You know,
exactly.
You put the time and effort into putting them on the card, setting up the match that they're going to have, promoting the match that they're going to have, and then at the last minute they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to go do this other show instead, you know. And so yeah, then I wouldn't have them come back. You know, there are some circumstances though, very few, you know, like let's say one of the bigger companies, the AEW, WWE, AAA, CMLL, they contact them. Still, you talk to the promoter and you say, hey, I have this big opportunity. And 9 times out of 10, the promoter is going to understand and say, go for it. You know, this is a break, you know.
Of course.
But if it's just a small independent show, then no, you know, it's not something you do, you know, just ethically, it's not right.
And one of the things is that people need to understand that this is a team. This is teamwork. Like everybody in a show has to be important. And I'm also talking about promoters out there that don't respect this, that they don't respect the talent, that they don't make an effort to respect their work, you know, that they don't choose the talent wisely. that they do things halfway. And I'm not gonna say names or anything. I don't like to do that. I don't like to badmouth anyone. But it's important to be aware of that in our industry because it takes a team in order to make a successful show, right? It takes a
It does.
team. Everybody's like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna get this half-trained, quarter-trained talent to open for the first two matches because I only got good wrestlers for two matches. So I'm gonna fill in 3 matches with bad wrestlers and 2 matches with good wrestlers. However, this is when people start showing up in the third match. This is when people, you have a empty place for 2 matches, for 3 matches, and people show up. However, that's not a good reputation for your production. You got. I do believe that the experience has to be all the way from the beginning, from the first match. I've been to an IZW show, and I don't want to miss the first match. I don't want to miss the first promo, the first entrance, because I know that the production in IZW is highly controlled from the beginning to the end. I know that if I miss a promo, if I miss Magnificent's promo right before the show started, if I miss this, if I miss that, I'm gonna lose what's going on the show. And it's an experience. It's an experience, and that's something that I'm gonna be really honest with you. I had the pleasure of working with IZW and you guys in one of the shows. I was one of the DJs, I think, out there in Coolidge, and I got to see what a better organization looked like than what I had. Oh, okay. Well, this is how you gotta prepare the show. This is the logistical part of the entertainment was very well arranged, and it made everybody shine from the beginning to the last match. From the 2-year entry level wrestler to the veterans, everybody had a spotlight. It was an experience. Time just flew. It was about 3-hour show, and literally it was over before I knew it. The people, wow, brother. And I know this is something that you guys do out there in Coolidge. But I do appreciate being invited and having that learning experience, especially getting to work with you as far as helping organize the show, and the respect that the talent that the wrestlers had for you in listening was really admirable. This is where wow, if you become a professional, if you are a professional, people will respect you as a professional.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, though. Thank you for those words, because it, like you said, it is a team. We have our promoter is Greg DeMarco, and he's the one that will organize the card and set it for putting the right matches in the right place so that the show flows, and so that there isn't that downtime where people will go, oh, well, this match I can just not pay attention to this one. Do you want to watch everything that's going to happen? And he's very good at that, and making the card flow. And then, of course, the wrestlers themselves, they're out there and they're working hard, and they want it to entertain that crowd, because I'm very big on audience participation. When somebody buys a ticket to an IZW show, I want them to know that they're going to feel like they're part of the show, and it's not just guys getting in the ring and doing moves. They're going to take that time. They're going to acknowledge that crowd. They're going to make everyone feel like they're special. They're part of the show, and that's what we like to do, because as all of us were before we got into wrestling, we were fans. And so it's like remembering what it was like to be a fan. I don't think too many wrestling fans that became wrestlers just sat there and watched the guys do the moves. There was the the story behind the match, and why does this guy not like this guy, or why does this team not like this team, And so we want everyone to feel that, we don't just want to go out there and have an exhibition, we're not an exhibition show. We're a live wrestling entertainment show, and we entertain the people.
Absolutely, brother. And I got to experience that working with you guys, even just as a DJ. Like, I was like, wow. And it was such a big learning experience, right? Especially when yes, this might be shows and it might be something that people do, but guess what? The price is real, all 360. From the people putting the shows, the money that it takes to put a show, the marketing that it takes to put a show, the trust of sponsors like Signature International, the trust of sponsors that allow you to put together this show, to rent the venue, to do this. That is real, as well as the injuries, as the training, as the sweat and the tears and the risk. People do not realize the risk that these wrestlers are running in every single show. That's what they gotta be prepared. They gotta be properly trained so they don't hurt themselves or somebody else. The liability on that. And I think this is something that is not being taken seriously a lot of times, and people are negligent about acknowledging this when they just want to feed their ego and get on the ring, right? Yeah. What are the direct words you would have for people that are doing this right now?
I would say don't rush. I know it's hard at the time, because when I was starting and I was training and I thought I was ready. I thought I was ready for, a match, and my trainer would tell me, no, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. But it would make me mad, because I'm like, no, I'm ready. But it lit a fire under me to train harder and to get better at what I was doing, because looking back at it, he wasn't holding me back. He was making sure that I wasn't going to hurt myself or hurt my opponent or, embarrass myself, And even when I finally did have my first match, after I was in there and doing and had my match, I realized I'm still not ready, and being able to see that in yourself and realize when you're not ready, that's a big thing. It's a big responsibility, because a lot of guys now that aren't ready still don't realize that they're not ready. They need to kind of like step back and train more and get their timing down, because I don't want to see any of these guys get hurt. I don't want to see one of these young guys that's not ready to be in matches yet go out there and, break his arm or something because he wasn't ready and he didn't know how to properly do his moves, wrestle, and especially in Lucha Libre, when the guys are a lot of dives out to the floor, or you're having to catch these, protect each other, but still, still go out there and do this. And so, I've seen guys get hurt on the simplest of things. I've gotten hurt doing the simplest of things. I've broken my leg just because my toe got caught on the canvas when I got hit and I was falling down, and my foot stayed stayed stuck to the canvas, and my leg ended up behind me, and I broke my leg. So and it can happen. I was 12, 13 years in, and a simple injury like that on a stupid thing, just falling, but your foot got stuck on the canvas. So imagine if you weren't trained right, and it could be worse. Something else could happen.
How many times throughout your wrestling career and throughout your life in the last 30 years, and similar challenges such as wrestling, did you ever think of quitting?
I thought of quitting when there was a rough point where I would be wrestling for promoters that I'd never wrestled for before, and there were times where the money wasn't there. You were, I'm sorry, the house wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but I know I promised you this much money, but we didn't draw as many people as I thought we would. So, I'll send it to you, and then you never see that money, and then it's like, man, this is money to feed my family. This is not something to just be like, oh, okay, don't worry about it, And so when it got to that point to where it was almost like a run of bad luck, to where it was like, man, this promoter fell through on pay. This one, his check bounced. This one, the plane ticket wasn't there, and then, that kind of thing, and that made me start thinking about, man, is it worth it? Is it worth it beating my body up for no money? There was one time where the promoter snuck out with the money, like halfway through the show. We were doing an intermission, and Yokozuna was on the show, and I remember Yokozuna came over to me. He goes, "Hey, you better go get your money. The promoter's taking off." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." So I went, ran over, and I was like, "You better pay me," And he did. He paid, but boom, he snuck out. He left halfway through the show with all the money from the show. And the only reason I got paid was because somebody tipped me off. Yokozuna tipped me off and said, "Hey, you better get your money. This guy's leaving." And so there were so many guys on the show that didn't get paid because this guy just snuck out with the money. Never heard from him again. Never heard from that promoter again. And all those guys that lost out on their pay, because of that. So things like that those were the things that made me want to say, okay, I'm done. Nothing else though. All the travel, all the beating my body up, all that kind of stuff. No, I loved it. I wouldn't want to be a wrestler if I didn't love it, and it was, to me, I was just, no, I'm in this,
When you've been in these hard situations and in those breaking points, brother, the first time that happens, it is shocking. The second time it is shocking, but then you start to develop a way to deal with that, a way to overcome that, right? Like I'm pretty sure you don't feel like a strongman every morning, even now.
Right.
You don't feel like a strongman but you got to train. You got a competition coming up. You're low in energy. On top of competing and wrestling, you still got your family. You're dealing with your kid, with your daughter, with your son, with your bills, with your mom, with your dad, with your wife, with the family. And still you gotta perform, right? You still gotta perform. Through those hard moments, to those breaking points, how do you overcome, and what techniques do you use?
Me, I try to balance. I try to balance because, like, I start to get into a routine. When I'm home, I have a routine that's like up in the morning, training in the gym at 4 a.m., get home, eat, get the kids ready for school, take the little one to school, come back, and then get my day going and do what I need to do. But it's like trying to make sure that I can get it all in though, because I got to take care of the family, got to be able to prepare myself for what I need to do in a competition or in a match coming up. And what makes it harder though is when, okay, now I got to go work, so I got to go travel somewhere and I've got to go be away from home, and then it's like, okay, well, where am I going? Let's say I'm going to New York. Okay, what gym is near the hotel? What places can I get food that I need for training? Because it's easy to just grab fast food, but that's not going to help me in what I need to be doing. So I need to find places that are going to have what I need. So it's a lot of preparation and just planning. And but yeah, there are days where you just don't feel like it. You don't feel like getting in the gym. You don't feel like even wanting to get up. You're like, man, I'm gonna sleep in today. But you gotta just push through it, and just remember that on the other end of it, it's gonna be worth it. And that's what I keep telling myself on those days. On days where I just don't have the energy, I'm like, well, push through. Tomorrow's gonna be better. And then it always is. It always is.
It always is, brother. That was a very good way to say it. Tomorrow is gonna be better, and it
Mm-hmm.
always is.
Yep.
So many people need to hear that right now, right? And wrestling is for a lot of fans, for a lot of talent, and everybody in the sports entertainment world. Wrestling is something that never fades away because it's an escape for the fan, it's an escape for the wrestler, it's an escape for everybody to have a chance to be who they want to be, and to express and to perform and to create and to live an experience that is not just for everybody. Like the level of physical endurance that it takes, or mental endurance, brother. How long did it take you, so it's from when you started, from your first training session, to say, okay, I am ready to be a pro?
It was about a year from when I first started training to when I was thinking, okay, I'm ready. And then that's when, like I said, I had my first match, and then realized I wasn't ready, and so it just made me, but it also gave me the baseline of, okay, this is what I need to work on. I need to work on this, this, and this, and to that way my next match is better. There were things that I don't want to pull the curtain back too much, but the referee is very important in a match, and they're telling you things that, they're relaying messages to let you know what to do. And I didn't understand a thing he was telling me until finally he just looked at me. He goes, "Are you stupid or something?" And so I get to the back, and and I sit down, and they start to explain. I'm like, "Well, what did that mean?" And they're like, "Oh, well, that means this." I'm like, "Why did I not know that yet?" She goes, "Because you haven't had a match yet. You won't know until you're in there." And but that's changed too. Now it's not. Now you got guys that are just practicing every little thing they're going to do before their match, and you see them do it over and over and over and over. And that's like, back then it was just like, "Oh, I'll see you out there." All right, and,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go.
See you out there.
Yep.
No. I love when people are professional. We're down to the last stride of our podcast, brother. And I love when people are professional. One of the biggest things that I enjoy the most is working with professionals. There's talent out there looking for an opportunity. And when they contact me like, "Hey, I would love to work for your show. Here's my resume. Here's my pictures. Here's my video. Here is my press kit.
There you go.
Here is my press kit. Here is my resume." I will, just by reading that, you could not be the best talented wrestler out there, the next best thing, but I know that you're professional enough that if I take a chance on you, you are gonna show up. People send me like, wow, right? And then I got other people, Steve, that like, "Okay, I'm gonna book you." First of all, I don't even have their phone number. All I have is some Facebook message.
Yeah.
And then we're putting together the flyer, Steve, and they're sending me this 1995 Nokia pictures, all pixely, as I'm supposed to put them on a flyer, right?
Yeah.
Next to Navajo Warrior, next to Blue Demon, next to Alexander Hammerstone, and they're saying, "Hey man, I'm gonna come. You never give me a chance." I'm like, "Brother, listen. If the fan in the crowd looks more like a wrestler than you do, we have a problem."
That's true. That is true. I know it's not the same as when I was a kid, because this was the 80s and everyone was a giant. Everyone in wrestling was huge. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all these guys were, larger than life. You don't have to be 6'5" and 300 pounds, but be in shape, go to the gym, work out. Get some nice gear, good professional looking gear. Don't wrestle in a t-shirt, you know. And then you hear the ones that say, "Oh, well, John Cena wears shorts and this and that." Well, that's different. He made it to that level and then became that. You know, he was always in. He had matching boots to every pair of his tights. If he had green tights, he had green boots. If he had red tights, he had red boots. You know, John had matching stuff for everything. And then when the character became what it was, then he went to the, you know, wrestling in the shorts and the, you know, the coming out in the hat and the t-shirts and stuff. But you can't base yourself on somebody else. You know, be a professional first and then start to change your stuff up. You know, once you make a name for yourself. You know, Kevin Owens, they can't say, "Oh, well, look at Kevin Owens, he wrestles in a t-shirt." Yeah, but he's in the WWE. You're not. You're still trying to get somewhere, you know, and look the part. Be in shape. You can't be, you know, looking like Alexander Hammerstone. Not everyone can look like Hammer. But get in the gym, lift some weights, work out, tan. Every little thing's going to help. Because it's going to make you look different from the people that are paying to see you. You know, if you're sitting in the crowd and the guy in the ring looks like, "Oh, hey, that looks like the kid that, you know, pumped my gas over at the gas station," then it's a problem. You know.
Hey, man, if the referee be looking like Scott Johnson.
Right.
Jesus Christ, you know, if the referee be looking like Scott Johnson, you better hit the gym before he's your ref.
Exactly. The referee's more muscular than you, then man, you just stop. Hang up your boots. Just stop.
No,
did you ever get?
Wow, that is such a realization. Yes.
Yeah. You know, did you ever get the messages from people when they want to get a booking and it always start, "Hey, brother, how professional is that? Hey, brother, I'm a wrestler out of so and so." Okay, well, I'm not your brother, and you know, delete. I don't even read the rest of it, you know, because it's like, oh, wasting my time.
It gets cringe, bro. It really does. It gets cringe. You know what I mean? It does. It's like, hey man, like send me some videos. I'm always looking for new talent. I like to be a producer, and we have built a reputation in Lucha Voz that yes, I can put some headliners on the card and people will come, or I can put live Lucha Pro Wrestling and people will come.
Yep, there you go.
Because they know after so long that there's quality, that there's surprises, that there's talent, and it's because we rely 100%, and somebody needs to say it, Steve, we rely 100% on good prepared talent like yourself in order to make it worth it. What do I mean by making it worth it? My brother and everybody listening out there thinking of doing wrestling shows, if you're spending $3,000, $2,000, $500 on a wrestling show and you work 40 hours, 50 hours on that, and you still think you came out even because you cover costs, let me tell you, you would have made more money working at McDonald's than doing that.
That is true. That is true.
It's people need to get paid. And that's something I've been in that situation where at the end of the show, when I first started, when I had this idea of starting up the Lucha company and the wrestling company, oh man, what a tough lesson. You know, oh, Jesus Christ. You know, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And you don't know how to promote. You don't know how to bring people. You don't know how to engage your crowd. You think you're doing everything good. You have your expenses or your talent. And next thing you know, brother, the only people on the rows is the 20 people that came with the luchadores for free.
Yeah. And that's a scary lesson to learn right there, because then you're like, whoa, wait, okay. Yeah, now you're taking a bath and you got to pay everybody out, and you're like, oh man, Now I can't eat for a month.
That's when you get the money from the show. You start running, right? And then Steve Islas, the Navajo Warrior, is gonna come chase you down. Where's my money?
Exactly.
And you know what? It needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. For anybody that is thinking of putting out shows, I have a couple of things of written down procedures on how to get sponsorships, how to get your, how to cover your cost and do what you love, create. But at the same time, you gotta respect the sport. You gotta respect the industry. You gotta respect the talent. And Steve will tell you right now, as he's been in the promoter side and he's been on the talent side, brother, what would you tell people right now that are trying to get into the business, either the wrestling, promoting, or either side of the line?
On the promoting end, I would say do not even think about running a show until you already have all of your costs covered. You know, if that way you have your budget, that way just in case not a single person buys a ticket, everything is still covered. Your building, your ring, your talent, your production, everything needs to be taken care of, because once you don't pay somebody, wrestlers talk, you know, they talk, oh no, don't work for that guy, he doesn't pay, you know, and then you're stuck with the guys that, oh, I'll wrestle for free. And you get what you pay for, you know, you get what you pay for. So if you ever try to get a wrestler that says he'll wrestle for free, then you're getting a guy who's worth $0, you know, because they're not there yet. They're not, that's why they're wrestling for free, because they know they're not good enough to get paid. So as a wrestler, you gotta be more than a wrestler. You cannot just know how to wrestle, you know, be trained to wrestle. You still got to do all the other parts that come with it. You got to look the part. You got to speak the part. You've got to live it. You know, it's not just, you don't treat it like it's a hobby. If you treat it like a hobby, then that's all it will be. If you treat it like a business and you treat it like a job, that's what it will be. You know, the guys that I've seen just in Arizona, you know, like Hammerstone is a good, perfect example. From the first time I saw him, he was a guy that stood out from everyone else because he looked like he wanted to become something bigger, something better. And then just to see him not just get comfortable with where he was, he got in better shape. He got better looking gear. His training was better. His experience got better. And I watched him go from, he was never just satisfied. It was always wanting to get to that next step and that next step and the next step. And, you know, he signed with MLW, then now he was done with MLW, now he signed with TNA, so he's wrestling with them now. So he's making his living doing this. He treated it like a job, and it became a job, you know. Mm-hmm. So he didn't treat it like, exactly. You treat something like a hobby, it's all it's going to be is a hobby. Right. You know, I did the same with strongman, you know, like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it at the highest level that I can. I'm not just going to do a parking lot show here and there. I'm going to do world shows. I'm going to do world championships. I'm going to qualify for those, and I'm going to qualify for those big shows. I'm going to wrestle at going to compete at the Arnold. I'm going to, you know, and those were always my goals. It's like I do my first show, it's going to qualify me to go to a national show. And then I want to win that national show. Then I want to go to the Worlds, you know. And now I'm going to Finland. So it's like you just can't be satisfied with where you are. You always want to try to get better and better and better.
And what is, brother, what's next for Navajo Warrior, for Steve Islas?
Flying out to Finland on the 5th. We have our weigh-ins on the 6th. We compete on the 7th. Compete on the 8th. Compete on the 9th. Come home on the 10th. So it's fast and furious. We go out there and we just pedal to the metal. I don't have time for jet lag. I don't have time for, any of that kind of stuff. It's like we got to get to work. So, and then after that, I know we've got events with IZW in August. We've got an event we'll be back in Coolidge at Coolidge Days in October. So the rest of the year's looking good. back in Coolidge days in October. Then in November, we'll have our next event after that. And then my strongman season picks up from there, where I'll have championships coming up in November and December. So it'll be
you got a busy year, brother.
Busy time. Yes.
You got a busy year. Always got to look forward. Always going into the next step. Congratulations, Navajo Warrior, Steve Islas himself, ladies and gentlemen, here at Lucha Life, and that expands to so many things outside even wrestling. That Lucha Life, right? Always taking it to the next step. Never taking defeat, always moving forward, going on forward for your dreams. And guys, we have a perfect example right here live with Steve Islas, Navajo Warrior. And Steve, thank you very much. I hope you liked our interview. I hope you liked our Lucha Life. We keep it real. We keep it real.
Yeah, you do. I love it. That's the way we do. Yes, sir. DJ Vos, you are the man, DJ Vos. I love it.
You are now listening to the official Lucha Vos podcast, where you can get all the latest interviews and everything going on with Lucha Vos. Do not forget to check out our website, luchavoz.com, for all upcoming shows and other news.